This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, January 10th, 2017, episode 104. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig, at Nicholas M. Craig is my Twitter. If you're interested in politics and such, atnshow.com is the website for that, infectionpodcast.com. For this, back again by popular demand, Brian Aldridge. Hey, Brian. It was close, but
yeah. Hey, everybody, if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, or you can go ahead and check out my blog, biteoftech.com. If you would like to go join our Steam group, see notifications of when the show is going to start, maybe be able to quickly and easily add people you're playing games with that are followers of the podcast as well. You can go to our Steam group that's on our website, infectionpodcast.com. The right-hand side, you'll see Join Steam Group. You can click that. We do 1 to 2 notifications a week, depending on what the Friday night games.
Or 2 at the same time.
Or for some reason, it sends 2 at the same time on our
4 notifications a week.
Yes. And also we have our Discord group. So a really good group of people that are playing a lot of 7 Days to Die, playing Miscreated. There's people who play H1Z1, Ark. Just a lot of different games that you might be interested in. If you are, you should go to our Discord group by going to our website. On the right-hand side, it says join. There's a list of the Discord people right now. You can click join, and it'll give you an invite that every time you open up Discord, you'll be a part of that. So
yeah, and I was actually doing some I looked at some stats this week. I'll see if I can find it. We have almost 130 people in our Discord, which is I mean, great since we're not a game. Like most of the Discords are like games and brands like H1Z1. And
we just people like to play games.
Yeah, exactly. We played Cards Against Humanity last night online.
I saw you guys doing that.
Was a lot of fun.
My wife is home, so I didn't think it'd be best to say, "Hey, honey, I'm not going to hang out with you the night you're home. I'm going to go play some Cards Against Humanity."
I mean, you could have. It wouldn't have been a problem.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure she wouldn't have minded.
So we've been playing some of those games. Let's see. We got a couple housekeeping things, Brian. Why don't you start us off? We got some great news this week regarding our PAX trip. Why don't you let her...
All right. So we actually... I'll go through a little more of the backstory. We actually got rejected the first time, and we figured Nick was like, I don't think they even looked at our application, because immediately Nick and I filed separately.
Different times.
Different times. And at exactly the same second, we were both rejected. So it's like, we just kind of figured this has got to be some sort of a auto reject, like, you don't want it hard, bad enough, type of a thing. So Nick said, "Hey, wait a minute here. We've done 103 at that point, 103 consecutive episodes. We've had Daybreak on the show. We, just kind of said, you should at least look at our application." And they said, so they sent us a message. Okay, hold on, we'll take a look at it. They looked at it, and they gave us approval pretty quickly after that. That was very good. So we'll have our PAX credentials to be able to go there and actually probably get much better interviews.
So there are other things, Brian, that I haven't even told you about yet that I found out earlier this week talking to a friend that has gone to media with PAX East. They actually let you into the convention an hour and a half early. Nice. It opens up an hour and a half early for press, so we can get in there early and get some stuff done, which will be nice.
We'll have a little room probably where we can have some coffee and
maybe we can hang out with some of the people from Kotaku and Engadget.
Yeah.
And all of
You're from Engadget. I'm from the Infection Podcast.
Hey, here's my card. I make videos on the internet. I don't get paid.
Maybe I can find some time to interview you or something.
Hey, we don't make any money, but here's my card.
Yeah.
My mom paid for these business cards. Nice to meet you.
I got to pay her back as soon as we get some money.
Hey, man, can I have a couple bucks? So yeah, we have
they actually sent us ones for what that are
PAX
happening
South.
now.
Yeah, PAX South.
They sent us immediately as well passes for PAX South, which we're not.
Yep.
So
we got that handled with. So that means we will be, which we didn't originally plan on doing, but we will be producing content at PAX, interviews with. It's not going to be anything crazy, but it will be.
We'll set up some cameras and ask some questions to I mean, it'd be really great to get, the people that make Ark, Miscreated, just some of these games that we follow each and every week, um, be able to get some FaceTime with them.
Yep.
First of all, make the contact. I mean, we're starting. Are we going to talk about? Do you want to? This is a nice segue into what we're doing here. Was it next week?
Yeah, next week. So this is pretty important news here. So coming up next week on the show, we will be having Chris Sprance, who is the technical director for Miscreated, live on the show for about an hour or so at the beginning to talk about Miscreated. We've been playing it recently. That's going to be our game of the week this week, so we can play it, refamiliarize ourselves with it. And then what we're posing to the community, and there's a few different ways you can do this. The first one is via Twitter or email. It's contact@infectionpodcast.com. Questions that you want to ask. And here's the good thing. Unlike a PR person coming on the show, we have a technical director, somebody that has
That's what we
the
ran into in
knowledge.
the past, is we have non-technical people and we have technical questions, or at least I do.
Well, this show is pretty. This isn't a. I mean, we tend to get into the nitty gritty with a lot of this stuff. We cover patch notes. We cover raw data from these games. So I think in general, I think the community is interested in, not just, oh wow, what are you working on, but no, how are you overcoming the network code, which we know which has been a massive issue miscreating. Getting some technical details, not just oh yeah, that would be, that's cool.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is I'd really like to hear some of their direction. I mean, they seem, and that's one thing we'll actually be talking a little bit later in the show. And that was really good news to see that they're kind of pointing at where they're going to be going. But being able to ask these developers, what's the next step in your game? Like, are you just playing it through? Because I'm sure there's plenty of companies that are just sitting there kind of playing it through and seeing where it goes, not really expecting it to be around a year from now. But then there's ones like Ark, who's fully expecting to be here a year from now and to still be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
They're planning right at this moment, like, what is it that we're going to do to keep relevant? And to be able to ask these type of companies that are expecting to be here a year from now, and not just be a game that, okay, it was around in 2016 and now it's gone, on to the next game. What are they doing to keep relevant? And so that'll be fun to ask some of those people, because they're thinking about it. I'm pretty sure of that. And that's what interests me, because I mean, we see the games as they are right now, but it'd be interesting to hear, what are some of the upcoming, maybe they can give us some sneak peeks at upcoming features. It
should be cool. So as is planned right now, next week live on the show, we'll have Chris Sprance, and there is actually a backup too in case something happens and Chris isn't available. We have a backup planned as well. So different member of the Miscreated team on the show live next week. Send in your viewer questions at InfectionCast on Twitter, or send it, if it's a longer thing, send us an email. It's contact@infectionpodcast.com. We'll both go to Brian and myself, and we'll put that stuff together and ask, hopefully, Chris those next week and get some insight on that. So we got a lot of great things coming up for Infection. I said at the beginning of the year, I said this is going to be a great year for the show. And at 16, we Brian, I think you might agree with this. 2016, we just kind of did our thing. Like, we didn't really strive to do anything else.
I think at the end of the year, we had a lot more going on. Like, I think we kind of pushed it towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so I think we want to keep that momentum going to keep new content, because you don't want it to get too stale.
Momentum.
Full momentum. Yes. We're at 10% right now. We want to be 100.
Yeah.
And so, that's something where I think if we keep pushing it forward, start getting to where we get some of these developers on here, that'll be good. And it'll make it so that we're more likely, just like we were able to say, hey, we've had Daybreak on here, we're a relevant podcast. We think we should have press credentials. It'll just be to where we'll be able to talk to bigger and better people.
Exactly. So
I guess I don't know about better, but different people.
Exactly. That's the plan. So we got a bunch of exciting things coming up. PAX is as we look right now.
Says tornadoes throughout the cast confirmed.
Yeah, just ripping through the stream. PAX is less than 60 days away.
Is it?
So
man.
Look at that, man. It's coming. Of course, we're past our goal. We'll be announcing all of the perks of that in the coming weeks here, but we are at $502, so we hit our goal.
Yes.
And 58
And you're
days
still
from now.
welcome to donate beyond that. That number, just so people know, is kind of the
That number
cover
doesn't even cover our hotel room.
Yes, that was trying to cover our hotel room
Yeah.
for for the 3 days that we're there, because it is pretty expensive. You got to think PAX
It's Boston.
is Boston. It's
Boston.
at a prime time. We booked everything really early. I got my flights. This isn't touching my flight. This isn't touching anything else. So you're more than welcome. If you'd like to continue donating, it'll just pay for more of our expenses as we're there. But we tried to come up with a realistic number that was, what would it take to kind of just at least cover our sleeping arrangements.
Yep,
and that's what it was.
And we've done that, so that's really cool. Thanks everybody taking a part in that. And I mean, unless something happens, I mean, this is probably going to end up being a yearly thing. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what that is. But
I'm sure now that we've been to PAX once, I'm pretty sure from here on out, as long as we don't do something incredibly stupid, get ourselves kicked out of PAX somehow, I'm sure that they'll continue to invite us back. So.
Yes, definitely. So that's housekeeping stuff.
Nick doesn't get too drunk and cause a rampage.
Yeah, destroy the hotel room and have to spend $10,000 to refurnish it. So that's housekeeping stuff. And kind of one other odd note here. Twitch is kicking me off for whatever reason. It'll come back. Steam hit a new record this weekend, Brian. Steam hit a concurrent. This isn't just like active users, signed up users. This is concurrent. 14 million concurrent users. That is an absolutely massive amount of players concurrently playing. And by the way, this is the thing. This is Steam that doesn't charge for anything. Like, they take a little bit of the games, but they don't charge you, like, you being the consumer, they don't charge you anything.
The person that's getting charged is the developer.
Yeah, exactly.
The people that are releasing the games. Steam is taking a percentage of that amount, but they're not charging you fees on top of that. A lot of places will charge you fees, on top of your purchase or something like that. These games are as far as price wise, are very comparable to other places. Like if you were to go and get a game that was outside of the Steam marketplace, it's not like it's going to be that much cheaper. You're getting a relatively reasonably priced game. So I don't know if they've managed to keep developers from raising the price, saying, hey, you're charging me 40% or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're somehow working to keep them from then tacking that on top of the end price of their game, but it doesn't seem like that's how it's been. I mean, they are having to charge a realistic price, but you still see the Steam sales. You still see all these things going on. So they've done a really good job. I mean, there's a reason that they are the prime place to buy a game. You don't really think about buying a game that's going to be outside of Steam. A lot of times, if it's not in Steam nowadays, I look at it and it's like, I don't want to deal with, like, for instance, there was a Humble Bundle this past week, and it was on Uplay, and I was like, these games sound really good to me, but I never launch Uplay. And so I'm not even going to buy this bundle because I don't want Uplay games. I mean, that's how the reputation that Steam has gotten.
And that's the thing, unfortunately. I mean, I look at games like, or I shouldn't say, I come from console gaming. So I come from spending, what was it, like $60 to $80 a year on Xbox Live, just the service to be able to play the games I want to play. So that's
what I've noticed with the PlayStation is my wife and we purchased a game called was it Don't Starve Together?
Don't Starve. Yeah, Don't Starve is a survival game. Yeah, they've Don't Starve Together.
But then there's Don't Starve Together, which is a 2-player, I guess, version of it.
Yep.
To even play that in local couch co-op mode, it wanted a PlayStation Plus subscription, which didn't make any sense to me. So I did the 2-day trial just to try it out since we had purchased the game. But yeah, that's pretty expensive over time. I don't remember how much it is a month, but
It's
that's
about
quite a bit just for the privilege of being able to play a game
it's
online.
just about 60. I think it averages out to about $60 a year. And originally, the whole way this thing worked with online stuff is Xbox charged $60 a year and PlayStation didn't. So a lot of people that didn't want to pay for that stuff went to PlayStation. And now that PlayStation charged for that as well, it's the same thing. But Steam offers way more than just. And by the way, we don't get paid by Steam. Surprise, surprise. But
officially sponsored by
Steam. Steam provides way more than just your typical like gameplay. I mean, you can stream your game to your friends on Steam. There is voice channel. We have our community page. There's a forums. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that they're providing for nothing.
And the thing that you really entices developers is the amount of bandwidth that could be consumed. I mean, if you look at a company like Arc, the fact that they put out updates sometimes 6, 7 plus a week that can be gigabytes and gigabytes of data, with the number of people that own their game, if they were doing that personally, they would have to then worry about data centers being able to provide those updates at those peak times. Because when you roll out an update, all of a sudden you have 50,000 people trying to run an update at once.
Yep.
That's a huge amount of bandwidth. That's something with Steam, you don't really think about it. Like, they're providing those CDNs.
Yeah, when you're going, oh wow, man, I'm downloading at 7 megabits a second from Steam. That's a lot of data to be transferring back and forth. If you think
the second that a major game like Call of Duty,
No Man's Sky,
came out, all these places that are rolling out a fairly 1+ gigabyte update, fairly large update, for them to do that at once, they don't really even have to think about it. Steam takes care of all that for them, so that all they have to really worry about is releasing the game, and just worrying that their own code works. I mean, that's something that you see some of these other developers that are doing their own update systems. As soon as they release a game, the whole system crashes, and it takes them 2 days because so many people are trying to play the game, and they're hosting their own servers as far as multiplayer and all this. Mm-hmm. That's all infrastructure things that usually die out. But the updates, I mean, that's something that you would have to pay so much money for that. Paying it once at the front end with Steam, Arc has gotten so much of their money back from that, for every single person that's purchased it for the amount of bandwidth that Steam has had to provide.
Yeah, completely agree. So there we go. Thought of some interesting news with Steam, not really relevant to anything we're talking about, but hey, I mean, we all use Steam.
Almost every game we talk about is available on Steam.
Exactly.
There are a few exceptions here and there, but for the most part, we talk about Steam games. They're all Steam. So
exactly. All right, Brian, let's get into some actual news here. Kind of a light week again on Arc, but we do have some news, right?
Yeah. So this first one was January 6th, and this is 253.87 for Arc, and it says that they added some Arc Dev Kit hooks. So if you're working on making mods and different things for Arc, or for one of the mods for that, they added some additional things that you can do in there. So you might want to go check that out. One thing that you can do is download the Unreal Engine tool from Epic Games, and in there has a place that you can download all of the Arc stuff. So if you're like, hey, I think I have the ability to do something pretty cool. You've done some web development before, maybe, but you can actually make mods, and they have a nice tool inside of the Unreal Engine developer kit for doing that. So a lot of those that you've seen were made inside of that, and it's actually pretty powerful. So it's a good way to test out things on a very stable game, one that has a lot of support. So that is the 253.87. And then 253.9, this was January 6th as well. They fixed overspawning issues on the center with piranhas. and they added the latest dinos to the center. So the dinos that they added, I know last week they added a number of dinosaurs. They added those to the center as well, so they should start spawning in there. They fixed the Pelagornis rotating poorly when on water surface. So that was a small fix there. And then 253.92, this was also on January 6th. So far, this is 3 patches on the same day. Servers can now allow from the air supply crates to appear on top of structures. So when they're air supply crates that are falling from the air, they're now able to appear on top of structures rather than being prevented by structures. So you can add a launch command, allow crate spawns on top of structures to true to enable this. And it's enabled now on official servers.
This
so let's
is
say someone built
massive.
something. Yeah,
So,
imagine that someone built something underneath of a supply crate, right?
I was talking with somebody this week on Discord. I don't remember who it was. Sorry. But we were talking about Ark. And he had a lot of experience in Ark and was talking about how people will jump from server to server to server with the new system and put metal platforms around all of the supply drops around the map so they never fall, because they only fall in certain spots.
Pretty much just being trolls.
Pretty much. Because if the supply drop can't get to the ground, it won't be accessed. So now this totally destroys that. This is massive. I can't believe it took them this long to implement something like that, because this is the big thing, is on the massive servers like the server we played on, and the bigger servers than that, especially the servers which the Chinese just rule with an iron fist, which is like half of the official Ark servers. It's just metal platforms all around the map on all the supply drops so that you never have a chance to even build up, because those supply drops, there's useful stuff in there sometimes, depending on the level of it. And it just doesn't allow you to get any access to those things. So that's a huge change for Ark.
Yes. So hopefully this will make it so that those actually drop, and it will allow people to see where these airdrops are supposed to be. And maybe they want to go destroy the bases that are underneath them, once they see, hey, there's people that are trying to do this. So that's a good thing. And now you can change this. So I will probably add this to ours. Not that we've had this issue, but the option is there now. We might as well turn it on. So, and then they improved the server stasis /unstasis performance. So this is when people leave the area, the dinosaurs that were there kind of going into a sleep mode, a hibernate mode, going into stasis, until someone comes back in the area, because of course they're not going to keep those dinosaurs wandering around on 100% of the map, because the server just would be overloaded with the amount of data. So it's only doing it for people that are in the area of, in that particular area at one time. And then on January 10th, so this was today, they put out 253.93. They fixed a client-side GPU memory leak, and then they upgraded the BattlEye version. So what they're wanting to do is upgrade your servers so it takes advantage of this new BattlEye version that they put out. So I'm not sure if that means that there's anything that's going to be different, other than it may be more accurate and able to stop some of the latest vulnerabilities that are out there. So, but that is pretty much, that's 253.93. That's the latest actual patch. And then you had on here a new dinosaur. This is, what is it? Equus?
Equus, I believe. It's EQUUS. And it's a dinosaur, but it's pretty much a horse.
Looks like a horse, actually like a zebra.
It's an ancestor of the modern horse, according to their notes.
It's got stripes that are similar to like a zebra stripe. Yep. And it says as far as what it's based on, it appeared in North America during the Ice Age. But said that's pure conjecture. So that's one thing about this game, is sometimes they'll take what could have been real, or what they think might have been there, and then they put these things in. So it sustains itself by grazing while keeping safe from predators by living in herds and outrunning its attackers via superior speed and stamina. So I'm assuming that means that domesticated, this would be a really good animal to ride. It says it says right now, it says, have been long partnered in survival, and this remains true on the island. The Equus survivors will find a trusty steed or pack animal that can carry them swiftly across the land. So you can construct a special saddle for them. And they also said they have an extra, they've added extra saddle pouches. So maybe it has the ability to carry more than the average dinosaur. It says doubling as a mobile crafting station for chemical supplies, foodstuffs, and other items. So
this is
it won't be quite the same as what you'd find in a village, but it's helps people that want to maybe live a more nomadic, solitary lifestyle.
So this is
another kind of a portable base.
Exactly. This is another one of these helper dinosaurs more than it is a melee or a damage or a defensive dinosaur. This is similar to the Quetzal in a sense, where the Quetzal in most cases turns into, well, it can attack things. What it ends up turning into is essentially a portable base with, what most people do with it is put taming supplies on it so that you can knock something out and then swoop down with your Quetzal, and you've got a refrigerator and a whole bunch of things to do that. So this is another one of these useful helper.
Falcon says, horse in the midst of dinosaurs sounds like prey. And that's where, if it is fast enough, I think that's where they're counting on, is that it has the ability to run away.
And it does. I mean, I don't know what this is worth, but this image in the bottom right, it shows a swarm of them. And I mean,
now what's with the lasso?
So that's interesting. I don't know. It's got a lasso with 2 checks. I've never seen a lasso before, but they do have kind of dust, like a cartoony dust behind them.
Look at him though. The guy has a lasso.
Yeah, the guy has a lasso too. So maybe the goal is to be, because you can lasso people.
Maybe, yeah. But why is the dinosaur? Why is this horse pretty much having a lasso? I've never seen a lasso on one of these pages before.
It uses a specialized lasso. These tools are somewhat effective for self-defense. So I think this has to do with the dinosaur being so weak, that this is kind of a workaround for that. But there is a cartoon.
Maybe able to tie up a dinosaur that's chasing it, so you can
maybe
away.
Something like that.
It'll lasso its feet and kind of.
That's what it looks like. It says for self-defense. It says because
defensive as far as you do that and run away.
Yeah, and it says the Equus Equus or whatever the hell it is limited in battle on its own. So this is kind of your way to trap things or stun them, if you will. But it does appear to be fast based on the kind of cartoony smoke clouds behind the dinosaur. So I would imagine this is just a quick moving kind of utility dinosaur that you only take out when you need to do something like that. Similar to the Bola. Exactly, Green Man. Something like that. Kind of a.
I mean, this looks different than the Bola, but it's probably going to behave very similar as far as what they're showing. I don't remember seeing something that looks like that. So maybe they'll put out something specific for it, or maybe that's just the representation.
Yeah. So we'll see.
So, all right. Yeah. So that's pretty much Ark. Are we wanting to do a game giveaway?
Let's do H1Z1 and then we'll do a game giveaway.
Okay. I need to get logged.
So not a whole lot in H1Z1. Just a couple of notes. We haven't been talking about it recently, and we're not going to talk about it anytime in the future because it doesn't appear they're really doing anything. So this is an update from January 6th, which was Friday. Friday, yes. So this is from January 6th. This is an update for Just Survive from Lan, who is the CEO for all intents and purposes of Just Survive. We've spent a majority of the week hammering out new countermeasures for the invisible exploit, like they said in the post last week. If we focus on nothing but this one thing right now, that's fine with me, but that's what we're doing. This is his top priority, and our testing so far looks promising that they are on the right track to hitting that bug and kind of finishing that up. They say if you have if you see any cheaters, we've promoted this multiple times in the past. The email address is h1z1cheater with an R at daybreakgames with an S.
There's only
.com.
one.
Yeah, cheater, not cheaters, not plural. Daybreak Games is plural. They want you to include your server name, your character name on the server, and the time of death so they can identify the cheater that killed you. Again, this would be easy if they just showed you the name of the person that killed you, and or a weapon used. That maybe, here's the thing. Since this is a survival game, Brian, I don't necessarily want to always see. I don't want to see who's killed me in the long term. But when they've got issues like Magic Bullet, they need to include it. They need to just print out in text, Infection Nick killed by Infection Brian 308. Simple as that. Just spit it out to the console. Let everybody see.
It's pretty much what they're doing right now.
Except they have to do it on their end.
Kill.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Once they figure out this Magic Bullet exploit, get rid of it. But until you have something like this sorted out, you got to include that needs to be a debug. That needs to be turning debug on and off and introduces something like that. This has got to be could be so easy to track down because you don't know who killed you. And you really think do you really think they're going to be able to go through every single and here's the thing, people don't send email. This is 2017. People are not going to send an email when they're getting killed by a cheater. They're just going to close the game and move on to something else. This is a very, very ineffective
Well, and they don't
way.
even have the report button on there anymore.
No, doesn't work.
So, you hit Control R and it'll do it, but you don't know.
It doesn't give you anything. You assume it still works. It could not. Yeah. It might not for what we know. But just print out to the log when anybody. Every kill that happens on the server needs to be printed to the log. And you know damn well if you're inside of a building and you're killed by a 308, you know it was a Magic Bullet and you know the person was a hacker because they couldn't have shot you.
Yep.
So it just seems like that would be the easy solution of this. And they're also working on figuring out what some G29 error codes that popped up over the holiday. And then the last thing here is that server rule sets and balance ideas. They've had lots of great suggestions, which they've been asking community for. And they say that this is something they can't do overnight.
So they have, so it says they still have that report last death button in game. So in Just Survive, they have the report last death. In King of the Kill, they took it out totally.
Yeah.
So you have to know to hit Control R in King of the Kill. But I wonder when they're going to eventually go to this new UI. Like they've got to be going to the new UI eventually.
Eventually, I don't think they're going to go to the new UI until it's because here's the thing: there's still some UI issues with King of the Kill. Every once in a while, the UI is a little. I mean, you still get like.
Yeah, but it's so much better.
It is. But I don't think they won't implement it until it's probably done. I mean, here's the thing, Brian. We are right now looking at a game that is 2 years off from being back to where it should have been a year ago. So, I mean, there's no talk of new map. I mean, the base building conversation was very, very limited. With just a SketchUp was all we saw of it. We need a new UI in the game. There's a whole bunch of things that need to be done. Personally, I mean, I could care less what they do at this point.
I don't think they're ever going to bring it to a game that's going to be, and that's the thing. I brought up in the beginning of the show the whole, what are they going to be a year from now? I mean, honestly, where do you think that this game is going to be a year from now? It's still going to be DirectX 9. It's going to look like an old game. There's a lot of companies that are using more current, easier to adapt engines that can quickly put out something that's very comparable to this game. And so they're always going to be playing catch up at this point. Like they're already behind,
way behind,
but they're going to be playing catch up constantly. And they're trying to play catch up with their hands tied behind their back and, with a weight on one leg. It's like they've got everything against them. I understand that they're trying to make the game playable again, but I don't know. They're going to have to do some amazing things to turn this game around. And it's still, I mean, the big thing that gets to me is we're on that old engine. I mean, there's so much against them on that. And I've been saying that for, I don't even know how long anymore.
This is how I see it. Before, I don't want to get too far into this because it's beating. Yeah. Literally, I mean, the horse has been dead for a year and we've just continued to hit it with a stick. In a year from now, I could see this game Just Survive not even existing anymore, and I don't even think I'd care.
So one thing I did notice, one thing I noted, and I put it in our Discord group, and I didn't put it in our notes, but they are taking down what was that game? Not Lexmark.
The EverQuest Next that got canceled.
No, the
Landmark.
Landmark. They are actually taking that down now. They're shutting that whole thing down. So that's another Daybreak thing that is closing out. And even though that's a fairly recent thing
Landmark
that they've
just
done,
came out.
yeah, they actually are closing it down now. So the thing is they had EverQuest Next, which Landmark was kind of a precursor to that, and it spawned off from that because they made a tool to allow people to test making things and generating content, and they shut down EverQuest Next, and they said, "Oh, we'll keep Landmark going," and now they're shutting down Landmark.
Yeah. So this game came out June 10th, 2016. Landmark, and on February 21st, 2017, not even a year later, it will be shut down.
Yep. So, I mean, at what point, I think that was probably farther ahead than Just Survive is. At what point are they going to say, looking at this, we're never going to make any more real money than we are right now. We're making a lot of money off of King of the Kill. Let's try to make something else that's going to be as popular as King of the Kill.
Yeah, and and that's the reason why now, Just Survive has been the reason that Just Survive is the reason that Brian and I are doing this show right now. That's why we started this show. That's why, the 30 or so people that are watching on Twitch right now, that's the reason you are here. If not directly, that's how how all this stuff started. So will it be sad if Just Survive shuts down? Yes, absolutely. And I hope it doesn't. But it is such a lacking game that has no clear direction for the future that I wouldn't be upset if it shut down so that they could work on King of the Kill and make a decent game. Because at the end of the day, Just Survive is an absolute abysmal disaster.
At the moment. I mean, that's the thing is,
it's been like that.
We looked at the same thing with King of the Kill. We looked at the same thing with King of the Kill, and it looked like it was just done. I mean, remember? I mean, it was just horrible, and they did amazing things to bring that game back, and kind of give it a new life. But are they willing to dump as much into Just Survive, being that it's probably not going to make as much money as King of the Kill has? Yeah. It's not the same type of game. They're not going to make the money from a bunch of kids, borrowing the mom's credit card and buying a bunch of skins. Like, these are people that generally buy a certain outfit, right?
Yep.
And then they play with that outfit. It's not you came out with, a crazy clown mask. I'm going to get the crazy clown mask. It's going to be less of those type of people that are jumping from skin to skin. For me, I play with the same thing, and I don't set anything different unless I get something that looks a little more camouflage than the previous one. I stick with what I have, and I don't put on anything silly or crazy.
Well,
I don't know that this type of a game will.
And I guess I'd pose this to you, Brian. How much of this has to do with Daybreak Game Company being owned by an investment firm? And I mean, here's the thing:
not a gaming company.
Nothing against.
They're looking at what is the bottom dollar, what is going to bring us the best returns.
Exactly,
that's their ultimate goal.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, here's the thing: we have capitalism. There's nothing wrong with capitalism, but an investment company, as Brian just stated, is all about making as much money as possible. They don't care how they do it. They just need to make as much money as possible.
It is not their job to do anything on principle, right?
It's to make money.
That is their only job. Yep. And if they are doing anything other than trying to make the most money possible, they're actually failing their investors. They're failing their board. They're doing something that's actually wrong. And it's different than when you have a gaming company that just wants to make games that are fun, right? And try to survive and make money in the long run. Also, stay afloat. When you get bought out by an investment company, this is what it is. It's no longer, hey, let's make something that's the best, most fun game. We may make some money along the way as well. It's no longer that type of a thing. And I think that probably Sony Online was more of that in the past.
Oh, it was totally, because Sony was a game company. I don't know
what it is, and I don't know what it is now. I mean, I hear weird things about what happens back at corporate, just as far as in the office. I don't even know what the company's like anymore.
No. And it is what it is. They're owned by an investment company. The goal is to make as much money as possible. They could care less about how they make the money. They just need to make it. and they're going to shut down games that aren't profiting. And as we'll talk about with current players in a little bit, it's not great. I mean, it hasn't been great. It hasn't been good in a year. The game has not been playable, in my opinion, in a year, if not over a year.
We did have someone email us and say, hey, someone did try to correct us on that in email. But I still stand behind that. Most of those things that you're talking about were from over a year ago. Like I said, that nothing has really changed in a year. Nothing is the time that I quit recommending it was a year ago. A lot of these things hit a certain point a year ago and haven't improved.
Yeah. It's and we missed this popped up and we didn't say we missed a donation from Green Man for $10. Thank you very much, Green Man.
I think he had it labeled as Twitch.
Yeah, yes.
Twitch was down.
Yes, it popped up and the stream was offline or something like that. So that's
maybe we can find someone at Twitch and say, hey, get us partners so we can have decent bandwidth.
Yeah, there we go. There's something wrong with the New York server. I switched to California and we're back up and running. So with that being said, more downer news. Thanks for that, Brian. I really appreciate it. So there was a small hotfix came out today, and I'm just going to read this verbatim. We are deploying a small hotfix to our live servers today. This one is pretty specific and targeted at a bug where you can be removed from your car and stuck in place. This has happened to me multiple times. I'm sure it's happened to you, Brian. I'm sure it's happened to everybody listening. This is the bug where you're just driving, you're stuck, you're stuck on top of your car, you can't move, you can't interact, and you're pretty much just there until you die. It's a terrible bug. It's super random. It always happens at the worst possible time, like when you're having a good game. Actually, that's the last time I played King of the Kill was that happened, and I refused to play.
And you raged?
Yeah, I was pissed. I was having a great game, and then all of a sudden I'm stuck in the top of my car.
Yep.
And I used the betting. I tried their crappy betting system, so I lost the money I bet because I'm stuck on top of my car. It was great. We are not 100% sure that what we are testing will eliminate the problem, so we're going to push it out by itself to take a look and see what the impact has. There was an edit. We are rolling back the hotfix due to the weapon switch lag. Oh, and ensure we have a fix there before deploying again. The weapon switch lag is when you switch, it takes like 3 seconds to switch to your gun. So they implemented this hotfix. All it did was bring back the weapon switch bug. So we still do not have a fix for the random out of your car, stuck on top of it.
So can I say one kind of side note?
Go for it, Brian.
Of why this could possibly be. I mean, if you look at when it comes to game development, they're dealing with a huge amount of code. I mean, This game is just a massive amount of code. When someone wants to pull aside a bug and try to troubleshoot a bug, if they start writing a fix for a particular bug, maybe let's say, today, in 1 week from now, they finish it. Let's say that someone else is working on code that affects that piece of code, separately. It gets very difficult because you could roll out a patch, an update that actually, as you see here, either rolls back. Maybe you have some old portion of code in yours, that creates conflicts inside of these games. It's very difficult when you get to being this large of a company. One thing that, for instance, Unreal does is it has a blueprint system, and so you can. It's all kind of pre-structured code, and you can go in and mass find and replace things, change things pretty easily. But I'm sure with their code, it's just a huge amount of code that when someone pulls something out, they can't have that code for very long to do a fix. They have a limited amount of time of, hey, you need to, whatever fix you're going to do, you need to implement it within a reasonable number of days, because if someone else does another fix that affects that, it either makes it so you have to pick one or the other. Exactly, and one person's going to have to rewrite their code to match whatever your change was. It creates a high amount of non-efficiency. And it's like, I can understand how difficult something like this is, because I'm sure the game is just massive as far as the code is now. And that's probably why we don't see a ton of fixes, is because there's so many things that they're just writing from scratch. And it's a number of different guys doing this. I mean, They're trying to tackle little things here and there, and that's all they really can do. I mean, do they really have time to give a piece of code to a guy for a month to say we want you to do this major thing without anyone touching that code? I mean, I don't see that as realistic.
No, it's not.
And so how can they go in and really restructure anything?
Well, I mean, here's the biggest problem, and I get it, trying to deal and troubleshoot a bug. I totally understand it, but we are not 100% sure that what we are testing will eliminate the problem. So it's like they can't even test a fix internally to see if it's going to work.
Maybe the patch that they put in was a temporary thing that wasn't really addressing the problem. It just was making it so you didn't notice it. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, if they don't even know what the problem is now, like they don't.
Well, and that's the thing, is they don't, because
they was originally
you can't. When
it's kind of like hammers. When you hammer in a base and it's crashing the server, okay, we'll just take away hammers or take away the base. Which one are we going to do?
Yeah, the hammers. Exactly.
I mean, that's kind of the fixes, rather than fixing the fact that the hammer is crashing, inside of bases.
Yeah. What I would understand with a big fix like that, with an issue where when using the hammer crashes the server, I can totally see with an instant reaction being, oh crap, gotta get the hammers out of here right away, instantly, so that you don't have your service constantly
in the background. You need to be figuring out
exactly.
So that at some point when you need to re-enable the hammers, it's not like, oh, this problem is back.
Bingo, exactly. So that's the problem with this. And they're saying we will ensure that we have a fix, therefore deploying again. They didn't know what it was before. This is the first update this game has had in like 3 weeks. They did a hot fix. It didn't work. They don't know how to fix it.
Well, maybe they were working on that. Maybe this was someone checking out that section of code for this long, and they put out the patch and it didn't work.
Well, it did. Like, it may have worked, but it just reintroduced the weapon lag.
But it caused another thing. So now they rolled it back and they have to redo it.
This probably had something to do with constantly checking the status of the player, which in turn introduced weapon lag. Because I have a feeling it's a disconnect between what I think is happening. I'm not a developer, but I think the problem is that the server and the client are desyncing between if you're in a car or out of a car, and then something gets screwed up, and it's like, oh, pop, you're standing on the roof now. Because that's what happens. You pop directly up in the driver's seat, and you can't interact. Like if you were in the car, you can't interact with objects while you're driving. So there's some weird stuff going on there, but not fixed. Hope it is fixed, because I refuse to play H1Z1 King of the Kill until that is fixed. I will not die. I will not have another game wasted by this garbage bug in this game.
No.
It's just really, really unfortunate that this is what we're dealing with. So no news on H1Z1 again. Just a fix that didn't work. So yippee.
All right.
That's
so
great news all around.
Are we ready for I'll go and open this raffle?
Yeah, what are we giving away here, Brian?
All right, so we're going to be giving away a copy. Actually, I'll open the raffle before so people don't. Okay, so we're going to be giving a copy away of Tiny and Big's in Grandpa's Leftovers.
Oh, okay.
It's actually it's a really funny game. It is a lot of fun to play. I'll put a Steam link in there if you want to check it out. It says, you're a tiny and nerdy inventor who tries to reclaim his most beloved possession, Grandpa's underpants.
Wow.
It's an indie physics platform puzzle adventure game. It is a lot of fun. So it's got very positive ratings. So if you're interested in that, put ! Giveaway, and that will enter you into the raffle. And this is a really good game. I used to play it on Linux. Actually, they have a really good Linux version.
Great.
So if you're
one of your favorites,
play something on Linux. This actually works in Linux.
Yeah, the all one person listening to the show is like, hey, finally a game I can win. All right, so we'll do that, and then we'll pick that after some Miscreated. Actually, we may stop mid update for this. There's some big stuff here with Miscreated. They did a wonderful, and when I say wonderful, and I'm not just saying this because they're coming on the show next week. I say a wonderful.
Nick's kissing.
Yeah, a wonderful recap of 2016 all around. From Brian has been talking about this game all 2016 from when there were 35
when you
people
guys
playing
used to laugh at me.
Yeah, when we openly mocked you to your face about this game.
Yep.
we talked about it since then, and they did a great recap of this. This is a little long, but let's just get through this because it's important. First of all, they've got links to all their social media accounts on here for all the different developers and everything. If you're interested in that stuff, it's Twitter links for all the different people there. Follow it up. Chris, who's going to be on the show next week, you can follow him on Twitter. It's at @CSprance, SPRANCE, @CSprance on Twitter, or you can click the link in the show notes. So a couple notes here that they talk about. First one is player growth, which is probably the biggest thing for 2016 for the Miscreated team. And I mean, the Steam DB chart says it all.
Yes.
You can look at January 2016. That's maybe 40 people playing it. In this ballpark, that's probably 40 or so people playing it, up to where we are in January 2017, where we're hitting that 4,500 mark up there at the top. More than once. It's not just a one-time thing. So that's, I mean, in their minds, that seems to be the biggest thing of the year in terms of player count. Next thing on here is they introduced Bug Splat, which is the system that when your game crashes, automatically uploads it to them, so they get access to what caused your game to actually crash. Now, this was big in 2016. I remember covering this on the show, Brian. They worked with Moon Colloder to get their Kythian AI, I think is how it's pronounced, Kythrin AI system.
Moon Collider.
Moon Collider, yeah.
To get their
what's the name of that AI system?
AI.
Kythera?
It's Kythera AI. And this was something that before this, I mean, they had some zombies that were pretty stupid.
Yep.
I mean, you could just jump up on a table and the zombie would start walking away because it thought you were somewhere else. And so they put something that was actually a pre-done AI system that another company develops and maintains. But this allowed them to put AI in animals, the squirrels, like all the rats, all these different things that are running around. They could actually use this because this has a lot of pre-done AI that you can just assign. Like, do you need AI for a bear? They have AI pre-done for a bear that will, act like a bear. They have the zombies. Because they're working with these people, all they have to do is create the characters, create the animations, create all those things, and then they can use this system to have it behave in whatever way that makes sense.
Yep. And this was early in the year, and what was happening is that the Crytek AI system was just way too big. It was bad, and it was just the size of the AI was just massive. They said they wanted
to try to maintain.
Exactly. They tried to maintain it. You look at a game like Call of Duty, it's like 98 gigabytes when you go to download. It's a 100 gigabyte game. It's absolutely ridiculous. In a game like Miscreated that in early 2016 had a limited player count, like 70 people playing it. The last thing you want is your game to be 150 gigabytes due to and the AI sucked too. That was the worst part. It's not like it was a really good
this
AI.
Was using the standard. It replaced the standard actor system that CryEngine used before. This is a lot faster, more efficient. They said that they originally just intended this for animals.
Mm-hmm.
They said it was just to be used for simple animals like the pig and rooster. But since it works so well, they decided to move all of the AI in the game to be based on the animal system and, use this to control them. So for the zombies, everything has been switched over to this.
Yep. So, the mutants they're going to be adding right now, the mutants are still in the old system. They were planning on having that implemented by the end of 2016. But there were some issues in final testing, so they pushed it off until 2017, which isn't a problem. I would imagine it's going to be soon. With that. So,
a real soon, not a daybreak.
Yeah,
soon.
no, soon. As this was in testing. So once the mutants are moved over, then they will actually work on improving the AI system in general and fix little things with that. But that AI, in my opinion, Brian, may have been the biggest thing. Actually, the second biggest thing they did in 2016, and then this next one is probably the biggest thing in my opinion, and that was networking. Early on in this game, you were unable to play with more than 20 people because all of the objects.
Unless you had you had to have a huge amount of bandwidth, and the server had to be a really good
20?
server.
Was it 20 megabits a person? Is what the or 5 megabits a person?
You would cap out 100 megabits. Well, and it was growing, so. The more people you had on, it exponentially grew.
Yeah.
So if you had 5 people, okay, the server would go, you guys were using a decent amount of bandwidth. But the second that you got 10 people, it wouldn't just be, the amount that was 5 people plus that doubled. It didn't do just times 2. It grew by huge amounts to where within a small amount of people, it was eating all the bandwidth on your connection and all the bandwidth on the server, because the server was sending out all that bandwidth to every single person.
Yep.
Right. Not just the one person. So you got to think of, it's eating up your 20 megabit internet connection. Well, it's doing that for every single person on the server
and the server itself.
The servers. Yeah. So it's sending out, let's say there's 10 people. It's doing 200 megabits just trying to keep up if it's sending you a 20 megabit stream.
Yeah, which was
all it could really do is send out a 5 megabit stream to people, and you just however many players you could get on there till it ate up all the server bandwidth.
Yeah, it was a real problem, and I still stand by that. That was probably the biggest thing that they worked on in
And I'm sure it was lagging people out. I mean, the more people you got on there, there's people who have 7 megabit internet connections that can't handle anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Instantly cap them out.
And then it says we've had many internal discussions on what to do with the networking system, and the general consensus for the team, and this is for later on, is that they're going to rip the entire networking layer out of CryEngine, which, as Brian and I just talked about, they're going to be ripping the AI system out.
They wrote a lot of things from scratch.
Yeah, they're going to be ripping the AI system out almost completely once they have the mutants moved over. That'll be completely gone. In 2017, it says their core focus will be to improve networking. They're going to completely rip out the CryEngine networking layer and rebuild it from scratch. The default code is very antiquated and not designed for modern games, especially open world games, which CryEngine is not made for that.
This would be an interesting question to ask their developer.
Write it down.
Is do you regret? Get my whiteboard out. Do you regret picking CryEngine?
Write it down. Yeah, write it down. Because it's an interesting art. They have had to do a lot of work.
They're doing so much custom work. Yeah, so I got my whiteboard. The question is going on there.
Yes, that's what we want to keep track.
Because now that they've gone through, I mean, you look at first, okay, CryEngine, a strong tool.
One of the leaders. I mean, there's like
it's one of the leaders,
4 engines.
but the thing is, it's one of the leaders in single player games.
Exactly.
It's not one of the leaders in an open world environment. If they had it all over again, and I know they probably have a pretty good relationship now with CryEngine, and they're not going to want to say something.
Oh, they do. I mean, CryEngine is constantly showing off Miscreated because it is unlike any other game that is built on that engine. It is completely unique.
I don't want them to say something that's going to make CryEngine mad. But knowing now what you know about the engine, would you have preferred starting over again? Not now. You're committed to CryEngine. It's not like I say with Daybreak, switch your engine. They're committed. They're really well into this. At this point, if you were to start all over again, would you have preferred to do something like Unity or Unreal Engine that has a lot of this networking stuff all built into where that would be an afterthought?
Yep.
You wouldn't having to be rebuild and have your primary focus of 2017 be to totally rework and rewrite the whole networking code for an engine.
Now, the great thing is that they are, this will actually get done. They have a legitimate development team, and this stuff will most likely get done. Brian, I don't know if you have a chance. There was just a King of the Kill update that went live. If you can see if there's any notes on that or something like that. But that was a big thing for 2016 and 2017. They're going to be completely rewriting that code. The next thing here is Prone, which I'm going to read this because it was interesting. I thought Prone was like, oh, which is great. You just you go to the ground, just change the animation. It's real simple. Prone support is a feature we definitely want in the game, and we are still continuing to work on. Unfortunately, as I had thought, it's a lot more complex than just making a few animations of a player on the ground. It requires our camera system, animation system, physics system, combat system, AI system, and pretty much every other major part of the game. While we don't have an estimate on when this will be finished, it's high on everybody's priority list. You don't think about that stuff. You think, oh, I'm just going prone. All it does is it takes my character from this and lays it down. There's a whole bunch of things that have to, how does, the zombie, if you're standing up, can't hit you unless it knows how to hit a proned object. So it's a whole bunch of things that go into prone, and that's, again, another priority of them moving on into 2017, as well as animations. They spent a lot of time during 2016 cleaning up existing animations, fixing the simulated first-person mode, adding custom animations for different weapons like the bows and the crossbows. So that, there's things like that they're continuing to work on, and they want to work on in 2017 animation-wise. Now, this next one is a pretty big feature to the game, coming to the game, is a female character. And this is something that they've been looking at doing for a long time, but they just, it was one of these things. They had, what was more important to them was getting a networking system set up where you could have more than 3 people playing on a server at a time. So they kept pushing the female character off, as it's, in most cases, more of a cosmetic thing. It doesn't really change the gameplay whatsoever. So they had to keep pushing it off, unfortunately, but they do expect this to be in the game by the first quarter of 2017. Just so you know, the model is done. It is working in the game. They just need to redo the clothing to fit the female's body so that it interacts with that. But this has been done. But again, they had priorities. They felt fixing key features of the game, like the AI, was more important than implementing just another character, which I totally agree with. And I think Brian would as well. So you can see some of these pictures here of. And
if you look, this character actually looks better. I think looks better than their male character.
Yeah, the male character looks weird. I'm not a fan.
And so I'm thinking that this is going to be kind of them getting everything. How do we properly release a character? And I'm sure after this one is done, they'll probably release an updated or a new male character as well.
Exactly. Couple more notes wrapping up this base building. This is, Brian, make sure you write this down. Your thing. Base building is the biggest thing for me. And they're fully saying that is the case. The base building system they have right now, they say it will be seeing some love soon. What you see in game right now was just their first pass, and it's blatantly obvious that it's the first pass. Many of the features that they
hadn't really touched it since they initially put that in.
No, exactly.
And just sitting there.
And they say that some of the things they want to include to the base building system have been waiting on the networking code to improve, so it doesn't cause additional issues with the servers. So some of those features will be added this year after the netcode is implemented.
Now, actually, that's something that PH, that's a good question. And what you should do is actually maybe tweet it to us. I could write it down, but you should tweet that. Lumberyard is the old version, which is probably the same version that this game is currently on. But it is the version of Crytek that was purchased by Amazon.
Yeah.
And Amazon's been totally reworking it. At this point, just like, what is that, Robert Space Industries?
The space game.
Yep. Just like that, they switched over to Lumberyard, and people were like, "Oh, they're switching engines. That's crazy." Well, no, actually, it's not. Crytek put out a major engine update. That would be a huge amount of work for them. Star Citizen, thanks all. Would be a huge amount of work for them to upgrade to. Lumberyard is probably the version that they're currently on, that was taken over, that was purchased, a license for it was purchased by Amazon, and then they're making improvements. It'd probably be just as easy for them to do a sidestep and to now take their code into the Lumberyard, which is probably having a lot of multiplayer aspects.
Yeah. We'll just have to see. We'll just ask it next week.
That'd be a good question. So, PH, if you could email that way we'll have a record of it and we'll get it in there, because I think that would be very good. Are you guys open to the idea of Lumberyard? Yep. Because
we'll see.
It's great to have Crytek, supporting you, but that's part of when they say we're really focusing on that networking. Maybe Lumberyard is part of that.
It's a possibility. We'll have to wait and see if Chris has any details on that next week.
That they can talk about.
I'm sure there's. Of course. Sound wise, they started during January. But the plans, they're working on things, improving some of the lingering sound in the game. That is what it is. Sound is sound. Vehicles, they've added some vehicles to the game. Such as the bicycle, the bus, the 5-ton truck. and also an interacting, they've got the police car that you can interact with lights and sirens. This is interesting. I didn't even know this, Brian. I'm going to read this. This is the bicycle. Due to the lack of a proper two-wheeled support in CryEngine. So CryEngine didn't support everything with movement in CryEngine was four wheels, and that's why the bike is like you get off of it and it like slingshots across the map. I think is
sometimes
it's got something to do with that. They say this was some sort of hack on their part to get it in the game. They are not pleased with its way it currently works, and they definitely want to fix it. They also have a finished dirt bike. It's completely done, but they don't want to add it with the crappy hack that they got the bicycle in with because it's very, very buggy.
It might launch to the moon. I mean,
yeah, exactly. So they have no plan on adding any additional vehicles this year except for the dirt bike if they get that two-wheeled vehicle system figured out.
Yeah.
This next one I've got some. I'm going to kind of disagree with them on survival. They say this is the area that the Miscreated team and many of our fans know we are lacking in. From the inception of this game, we wanted it to be a game heavily focused around survival, and we are not close to that goal yet. I disagree. I mean, the zombies.
I think they're a lot more survival than many other survival games.
So that's the thing. The zombies are kind of weak in Miscreated. They're kind of hard at the beginning. If you're just starting
once
off.
you get a gun though.
Once you get a gun, they're pretty easy to kill, or you can outrun them. So, and maybe that's what they're talking about when they mean survival. But I mean, this game is constantly scavenging for food. The water, not so much because you can just drink it, but scavenging for food is a real struggle in this game. Dying of starvation is a struggle in this game. So in that respect, I do think that they've got that down. They say during 2017 they will be adding and fixing more survival elements to the game. This also has to do with the new AI system. That will be really helpful.
I'm sure they're going to bring in more of hunting.
Well, with the new AI,
like traps,
exactly. Yeah.
Crops. Now, one thing, I mean, with the trapping and crops, so I'm assuming that part of this has to do with them wanting to expand on the base building system.
Yes, I would
having a place where you actually will make a base and grow your crops. I think that they need to create that safe place or safe space first to have it to where there is a place to go and actually grow crops. So you're not just growing them in random places and forgetting where you planted them. So yeah. I think that'll be part of that. And
PH VCK in chat is saying they might want to go DayZ kind of survival. That's the two different things. DayZ is a survival. DayZ and Miscreated, I think, are you could draw a lot of parallels in how. Again, DayZ has zombies, but once you have a gun, the zombies are kind of moot. So that's that with survival. And they say that their goal is to make Miscreated really feel like a survival game. I think they're doing a hell of a job right now. I'm with it, and we'll reassess on Friday for the game of the week. But unless something major has changed since last time,
I don't think so.
It works. And then looking towards beta, they're in alpha right now. Looking towards beta, once all the core
a game that actually wants to get out of beta.
Well, Arc is doing that too later this year, hopefully. But their core gameplay mechanics, we want to add to the game once that's all in and working on an acceptable level, and all major/critical issues have been fixed. Then they will look into moving the game to beta status. They don't know if that will even be in 2017. It may not be, depending on how long. I would imagine it probably won't be, saying they're going to be doing networking and base building. They have a whole lot of things.
The whole networking system, redoing the whole base building system, which then leads to the new survival mechanics. Like all of those things are going to be fairly large tasks that then they want to have some time for that to kind of cook, and just get to where they're comfortable that everything that they've put in for that works well, and have it work well for a while, and make sure that the balance of players and all, I mean, there's still things that even if those things all work, they then have to make the balance of the game work as well, as far as PvP and survival and all these things. So I think then once you get that, because once they go to beta, that's when officially it goes to the fine tuning mode.
Exactly.
They're fixing small things, but the main gameplay mechanics are in there.
Yep. And I look forward to that. And unfortunately, I was, again, having this conversation with somebody earlier in the week. A lot of these games I don't think ever plan on getting to that stage. It seems like every game that is now early access has no goals of ever getting out of early access. It seems like most of them just kind of sit, linger, and then peter out, and they're done. Miscreated, you said at the beginning of the show, Brian, what's your year plan? Their year plan, is looking forward to getting out of alpha and into beta. They've got this stuff planned out. And this development team isn't huge. You may want to mark. I'm interested in how big this development team actually is. I mean, they've got the social media accounts of all these people. If that is only the people developing the game, it's less than 20 people. Developing the entire game.
That's the thing, is it's not that much. It's not that much bigger than that.
So maybe that's an interesting question to ask Chris next week, is how big, how many people are developers? I mean, how many people are actually developing this game?
Well, I can actually show. I mean, if you go to miscreatedgame.com, do you want to pull that up?
Okay.
And then go to their about page. Scroll down to the bottom, and that is their development team.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, I mean, 17 people, less than 20.
Yeah.
Now, they have their Twin Ravens audio sound team, which is a company to the side. So that's 16 people really, plus their licensing, some sound technology. And then 15, because Moonclider is actually just a software, something that they're licensing.
Yep.
So they really have pretty much 15 people on the team.
Yeah. And they're making
one
a
of
game
them's
and doing
media
updates.
relations.
Yeah. Exactly. So
the one's a community manager. So that's 13 people that are actually developing on the game.
I got about a dozen or so people actually making the game, which is,
pretty impressive.
Unbelievable when you think about it. And then the last thing on this note to wrap it up is Battle Royale. They mentioned in the State of the Game post, the last State of the Game post, that they wanted to put some type of Battle Royale or BR system into the game. It's on hold for now until the survival game aspect is closer to completion. That's a novel concept. No work. They did.
Well, you don't want to get totally left behind, and then oh wait, we have a whole new game here. Oh wait, what was that old game?
They did absolutely no work on BR in 2016. They just didn't work on it at all. Having that said, they still want to add it into the game at some point in the future, but their focus is on.
And they need to get all that stuff tuned.
Yeah.
To where that's what people also really enjoy is the gunplay in this, and just all the movements and all that stuff, because that will really lead into Battle Royale being a smooth and fun experience.
And their focus is on the survival game itself. And that's it. A really well rounded out. And that's what I said. It's a really well rounded out. This hours to put together of this whole thing, I would imagine. And just a real good recap of 2016 for this team. And I wish them luck in 2017, because I think this has the opportunity, and we've seen it, we'll talk about it a little bit later on with current players. This game is a real opportunity to really blow up and be real prime time this year. I think this could be the year for Miscreated to really explode.
Yes, and it's starting, and I think if they do these things that they say, it will be as you said, a very strong contender.
Yes.
In games, to where it is on the level of DayZ as far as popularity, and people know it.
Exactly.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this raffle.
All right.
And the winner, Firebomb 80. Congratulations.
Hey, longtime friend of the show, Firebomb.
Yes. Yes, congratulations. I will send you a key, and so just check your other, because it might be under there.
Yeah, so. Spam. We're sending lots of spam out through Twitch. Well, Brian, we had a great dev blog from Rust this week. Last 2 weeks, I don't think we've had anything. They were off.
They didn't have anything. They missed.
It was very short. Two weeks ago.
They didn't have videos for 2 weeks. But then they had a really short dev blog
2 weeks ago
for 1 week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally one paragraph, nothing last week. And in this week, the harbors are in, they're in full effect. And we have Shadowfrax's video here, in which we'll cover that, and then we'll come back and talk about that in a little bit as well. So here is Shadowfrax's. This is the Rust dev blog number 142.
Greetings survivors and friends, I'm back with the first update of the year and it's anchors away because as you can see we now have harbours in Rust. There are two types, both large and small, and in a stunning act of logic they'll only spawn on the coast, which makes them a perfect first stop for fresh spawns. Some other features which make them decidedly friendlier than the interior monuments and dungeons are fewer places to snipe or be sniped from, a distinct lack of radiation, and the ability to escape via the time-honoured method of jumping into the sea. Even though they're designed with fresh spawns in mind, there's still plenty to see and do at both, with buildings, boats, cranes and containers aplenty to explore. The new truck model, sadly not drivable, is parked up here too, and you'll find a number of loot crates and barrels scattered around. I really am impressed with the amount of detail on these, and although there may be the odd missing texture here and there, if all goes swimmingly, these should be added in a short space of time. In fact, some of the art that was made for the harbours has been used to tart up a few of the other monuments. Speaking of which, you'll notice that the familiar warehouse model that was until now seemingly being used as a repository for the booming trade in low-res boxes has in this update been given a major makeover. As well as a facelift, there's also now a forklift, sadly not drivable either, better boxes, tyre stacks, loot, an office that's good for hiding in but not much else, a brand new open plan design and all the amenities you've come to expect, including a recycler and quarry. Some other graphical improvements were made in the area of view models this week. For instance, there were a number of complaints about the way the player was holding certain weapons with their supporting hand in first person, not gripping the gun with all their fingers for one thing, but this is now getting tightened up. Quite literally. A couple of minor improvements in other areas were that now the death screen fades in instead of the curtain falling on your life story like a lead balloon, and that the notes on tool cupboards now no longer disappear when you get near to them. This had led some players to assume that there was something Facepunch didn't want you to see, but what could they possibly have to hide? The upcoming Magnum revolver is now finished and ready for animating. Here it is, and I can imagine some rather interesting skins being developed for this one if we're ever given the option. Talking of which, you'll notice that the latest skins on the workshop are all pretty cheap, being only 99 cents each, or 79p if you live here in the sunny UK. It seemed to work pretty well last week too, with them making about the same amount of money as when they were organised into price brackets. The suggestion is that maybe skin prices will rise with their age, much like a fine wine, until it makes more sense for players to buy them off the market instead, at which point they can be retired from the store to make room for more skins. Gary's opened a thread on this if you want to add your 2 cents, or pennies worth, and I'll stick a link in the description for you. Now don't panic, this is not a new type of porcupine bear hybrid, neither is it a bear that's been strategically shaved. Rather, it's a small test on how fur could work on the new model which is being developed. It's only one option though, and hopefully the end product will look less like a 10-year-old coconut hair doormat. As for the actual model itself, it's no secret that bears have quite a few special skills, including not just walking through solid rock, but being able to stand up on 2 legs when the mood takes them, and so this ability is being incorporated into the new mesh. On a side note, an issue that was discovered on the current physics-defying bear model was that thanks to a change in something or the other to do with Unity, it was actually silent when running and turning, which would certainly explain the frequent ninja attacks. Hopefully though, this is now fixed. This month at Facepunch is Optimization Month, and you'll be glad to know that the team are currently trying to hit Rust very hard with the performance stick. To start with, Gary made a new tool for seeing exactly what the game is spending your valuable processing power on. This has already led to some very interesting discoveries, such as in this example where 67 Pookie Bears weren't being culled and didn't have an LOD. If you fancy giving this tool a go yourself, you can by typing render info into console. It was also found that all this time the Ioka pistol's LODs were actually backwards, meaning that it was getting more detailed the further away it was from you. Eat that, opticians! As well as all this leading to a significant list of performance issues to fix, more improvements have been made elsewhere this week, such as in the area of particle performance, where it was discovered that items such as campfires and furnaces were still incurring a CPU cost despite being turned off or being out of range. This should now be fixed, so hopefully you'll notice a small difference. In addition to this, some exploits were fixed relating to building in tunnels and caves, and a cheat that could take advantage of server-side calculations to render the player invincible was tracked down and exterminated. Right, now you're up to date. Please leave a like and a comment to let me know what you thought of this week's patch. Subscribe for weekly updates and come and see me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook and Steam, and I shall catch you all soon. But in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.
All right, thanks Shadowfrax for that update. Well, Brian, they're in the harbor, which we have been tracking for 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah, it's been months.
Since we saw we saw original concept art. Maybe it's only been like 3 months. We saw that original
it's
concept art.
Not quite 4 months.
So we saw that concept art, and they are now in the game, and it's the same goal that they were always meant to be, which is allowing new players to have an area to spawn in which there is more loot. There's a lot of loot in the game, but it's not condensed. And the harbor is that condensed area for a new player to go in and be able to get some type of start before getting absolutely annihilated by other groups on the server, which is what happens if you play Rust. So there's 2 of them in the map.
And that's one thing, like Jason, he was making a comment, he doesn't think that they're quite sure yet what is best for Rust. Like with a component system, they're kind of changing things up. And I think that's a lot of them trying to figure out. I mentioned just from watching the type of I think I mentioned this probably a month ago, watching some of the development that they're doing on Rust. I think they have a very different vision for what they want Rust to be on release day.
And what it's
like people
actually
kind of, I think that people kind of turned it into this sandbox of just building bases and hunting down players. Yeah, I mean, they've turned it into that, but there's a lot of survival elements and a lot of things in this game that I don't think people really take advantage of, or they're playing it a different way. As I said, they don't seem to be playing it as intended. And I'm wondering if over there, they're kind of trying to figure out, well, should we follow how people are playing it and develop it in that direction? Or should we try to keep our original vision, which I don't know that there's really a right system to that. I mean, there's not a right answer, because you're going to drive one away. You may attract some new people with trying to keep to your original vision, but the game's incredibly popular.
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah,
it's one of the top games on our weekly stats.
Current players, Brian. Don't forget the name of my segment.
Sorry, it's one of the top games on current players.
Thank you.
I think that this is kind of a dangerous thing, to where if they say, hey, but this is what we meant it to be, and we're going to kind of force it that way, well, maybe the game wouldn't be nearly as attractive to people. I think that there's kind of a balance.
And there is esports talk about Miscreated. I mean, excuse me, not Miscreated, Rust. Take it for what it's worth. Everybody's favorite internet superstar, Keemstar, the drama alert guy, plays this game very frequently and has on more than one occasion talked about him working with them, trying to make it like H1Z1 in terms of its esports ability.
But I don't know that that's what people want. I mean,
that's the interesting thing.
Right now, the gun mechanics on it are very similar to Miscreated.
But I do think
you're looking down a barrel.
But I do think there could be a similar King of the Kill system implemented with Rust to make that Now, here's the thing with Rust. I haven't played it a whole lot, so I'm not an expert in this, but consistency-wise, I think they have it. I mean, they're very thorough with the things that they're doing. The things that are implemented into the game, for the most part, work.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that King of the Kill, just for God knows whatever reason, can't figure out. They can't get consistency down, which is, I mean, you go play Counter-Strike, CSGO, and you know that if you aim at this pixel and there's somebody there, it will be a headshot 100% of the time. No ifs, ands, or buts. That does not happen in games like H1Z1, which totally limits it from the esports market, because you watch these people play King of the Kill, play CSGO, and it literally looks like they have aimbots on, because they're hitting perfect shots constantly, the same shot over and over and over again.
So now that's one thing. I mean, if you look at like what Arc tried to do with their kind of esports version of it, they spawned it out as a free to play, and it's still, I don't know if it really picked up. I haven't looked at the numbers on that.
It was in the game originally, and they moved it out.
It was in the game. They moved it out, and they're going to be moving it back into the game. Yeah. But I'm thinking that they were probably hoping that it was going to turn into kind of an esports thing that they could do on its own. But this game may be similar to that because there are similarities between Ark as far as gathering and crafting and doing all these things that Rust has. It may not be a game that is very fun to watch other people play. I mean, it's a game that may be really fun to play. That doesn't necessarily mean that you want to sit for hours and watch someone else play it.
Yeah, exactly. So there may be some things coming up with Rust soon in terms of the kind of king of the kill aspect of it. And it's not just the implementation. It's somebody taking that and promoting it and sponsoring events with it. It's not just having a game mode that turns it into an esport. The reason King of the Kill is an esport is because they host that event at TwitchCon every year, and they have 30.
They're doing it themselves.
Exactly.
Like if they weren't offering all that money,
they wouldn't do it.
It wouldn't. It's not its own esport. It's not like we
Call
want
of
to
Duty.
make this happen. Yeah.
You look at Call of Duty, places like MLG and UMG are all creating events, or all had events. Same thing with Halo, that centered around the game that they weren't producing, and then now Call of Duty hosts their own esports events. But it's going to be interesting to see with that, because that is this may be the year of the esport, even though that stuff is more games. I mean, typically all esports have been in the past is kind of Call of Duty, Halo, League, Dota, CS:GO. That's there's some variation there, but that's pretty much it. Those kind of games are the big esport games.
But that's the thing, is all those games they start and they have a short time span. They're resetting constantly. It's going to be more of a difficult sell to push this being an esport because of all the downtime. And I know that's what they did with King of the Kill, was pretty much try to cut down on the downtime of just running around, because it was a running simulator. I mean, we heard that many, many times, but it is a running simulator. I mean, you go look at someone like Dr. Disrespect. They're not watching it for H1Z1 generally.
No, 100%. I don't watch it for him. Yeah.
He does a very good job of keeping the action going. I mean, it's very difficult to maintain that constant, like, fast paced that he does throughout a whole game. And he's working it to try to make that happen the whole time. The game doesn't naturally feel that way, and he's creating entertainment along the way to make you distracted from the fact that there's so much possible downtime in a game. I just don't know if a game like that will ever be able to overcome either being a running simulator or a crafting simulator.
It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens with it. I'm looking forward to it, and within the next 2 or 3 weeks, 7 days to I'm all over the place. Rust will be our game of the week. We'll check out the new harbors and try that out. So expect that either next week or the week after.
We'll give it another shot. We keep trying to give Rust a chance. And it may be that maybe it just has to click one of these times, and we may be able to get on a server where we actually can meet up and actually get to where we're doing something together. Because every time up to this point, we've never actually gotten together and survived long enough by not getting killed by trolls on the server to be able to even do anything.
Exactly. So we'll try our best to have that in the next couple of weeks to try it again and check out these harbors and see what they're implementing. So that's Rust. Big stuff with the harbor. That could be a game changer. And as we'll cover in current players a little bit later on, there's an insane amount of people playing the game anyway, so it seems to not really matter. We have some 7 Days to Die content. We have a new video out from Joel showing off some new features of...
This is the Fun Pimps who make this?
The Fun Pimps.
He's one of the co-founders.
Yep, this is Alpha 16 number 9, the video for that. And we've got...
It would be fun to get him on the show.
Make it happen. Let's make it happen.
That's the thing, is they don't do a lot of social media. Yep. If you look, like, he's one of the only guys with the whole development team that's actually on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he pretty much, I don't think he has anything on his Twitter really. So they're not that kind of a group, but it would be really fun to at least talk to him. Because I know you guys have been really enjoying playing that game. So
yeah. So here we go. We have a video here. I've got some time codes separated out. Brian, if you see anything else, just let me know. So this first one here is new zombie models. They have this kind of this like some old lady zombie model, and then a new model for the football player zombie wearing the helmet. Zombie ZU is what his jersey said for that. The next one we have here is a behemoth, which is some type of a new mutated zombie that they're working on. You can see it in proportion to a separate player. It looks like it's about 2 times the size of it, with kind of these warts growing out of its back and some type of horn or something like that coming off of its neck, spikes or claws or something like that. This is the big stuff. This is what we've all been waiting for. This is the new distance system. This is the look from outside of a city into a city on 7 Days to Die. This is one of the biggest downfalls with this game, is that you can't see an object, or you can't see a building until you're right on top of it. It just doesn't spawn.
You have to run into the town just to have it even render in those things.
Exactly, and this is what they've been working on with the new system. That's it from far away, and this is it from really far away. You can see in the distance his cursor is over it, how far away those cities are rendering in as. So if you're on the top of a hill, you can
actually, yeah.
If you were on the top of the hill beforehand, you would see nothing out here except for a barren wasteland.
Roads.
You'd see nothing but the roads.
You'd see roads, yeah. And you'd be like, oh, there's roads in a kind of a pattern over there. I'm assuming that there's a city there.
Yep. So this is the way off, the very far distanced system for that, which is massively important. And then the last one here, this is pretty neat. You'll enjoy this, Brian. This is a city in random generation on uneven ground, and he zooms in on it, and the city and the roads mapped themselves to the uneven landscape. Right now, all of the cities are flat in the game, but they have figured out a way so that they generate the prefabbed cities beforehand, or generate the city layout, and then it will map itself to the curvature of
which is a very difficult thing to do.
Oh, of course, because it's random every single time. So he spent some time talking about that, and this is the view of it from inside the city, and you can see on the left-hand side of the screen.
It kind of reminds you more of like you would see in an actual city. Of there's parts that kind of go up a hill and are winding.
Cities aren't flat. That's generally not the thing. So those are all of my time codes there. That new distance system that'd be pretty big. That's the biggest thing that they could do. In the next, that being like a complete graphics revamp, which I know they're working on some of that stuff with. So, do you have anything else in this video that you wanted to highlight? I think I hit everything.
No, I think you hit all the different topics, and that's the one thing. If he has a blog, so this is week 9.
Yep.
So every week he puts out another one. This is week 9 on this patch. They usually don't go too far beyond 8 weeks, between patches. So I'm assuming that they're pretty close on having this out, and those are pretty big changes. That's why this might be a little bit of a longer time on this, is doing that whole distance system and having it on also uneven ground. Those are 2 pretty big things. But 7 Days to Die, when they put out a patch, they usually do a lot of things and some pretty big things mixed in there. So
definitely.
I think that would. I think that they're probably within a week. I mean, I would think a week or 2 they should be releasing this one.
I would hope so. I would definitely hope so, because that is going to completely change everything with the distance system. I know we did that. We did our server wipe this weekend. I have been playing alone. Not that I don't like anybody, but I just was out and about this weekend, and I just got too far behind too quick. So now I'm playing on a single player game, and I'm really enjoying it. What's going on the server? What are you guys up to?
So we spawned up a new server this weekend. So a new instance of it on, I think it was Friday.
Yep.
And people have just been kind of building. We're trying to create more kind of spread out, smaller groups of people, so that we're not creating one major, and trying to avoid getting into a bomb shelter. So they actually had to build a real base on top of the ground, because as you could see with the bomb shelter, we instantly, with very minimal work, pretty much created a place that is not going to be broken into. So trying to create, I did raise up the difficulty 2 notches. So it takes, you do less damage and zombies take more damage to kill. I think they also do more damage to you. So
well, that was the problem, is like I played on Saturday, so it was day like 4, 5. And then I didn't play it all until like Sunday night, and I logged back in and it was day like 25. So I had gear from level 5 or from day 5, and then I'm on day 25 zombies, and it was just too much. So I think I'm on day 6 of my single player game, one day before 7.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, Brian, you changed the time that the day starts, which was a rude awakening. The day's supposed to start at 6 a.m. and you had it changed to 4.
Oh yeah.
So
sorry.
So I'm sitting in the game and I'm like, God, these nights take forever. Which, by the way, I don't think you should have changed, because
I think this is default.
No, the default is 6.
Well, in the program that asked me that, like when I go and set up a new one, that's the default on that.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't think they follow the in-game, because this is a separate server management script.
And it's interesting. The next time you redo it, you should set it to 6, because you would not believe how much difference that 2 hours is. For trying to get things done. Not even hold them off, but just to get things done during the day. You have 2 less minutes of game time. So your days expire much quicker, and
plus the zombies have more time to try to destroy your base.
Exactly. It's so I've been playing that.
I mean, we'll let them get a little bit of time going with dealing with the harder zombies, and then maybe we'll change that too. I think that would be a little bit much for me to take it from level 4 to, let's see, I think it was 3 default as far as difficulty, and I put it to 5.
Yeah.
And then also making the nights longer, that would have been difficult.
It would have been a little much.
Yeah.
So that's 7 Days to Die. Still playing it. Played for probably 2 hours before the show, and we'll continue to be playing that throughout the week. And it's great that it's single player. I don't have to wait on anybody else to get things done. I can log in and play whenever I want, which is nice.
And it picks up right where you left off.
That's
so
the thing I like.
Doesn't continue in the background.
Exactly.
So if you only have time to play every 3 days,
yep.
Your time will be right where you left off, and you'll be able to continue the game from there.
Yep. So if you're in a similar situation to me where you don't have a whole lot of time to put in, so what I've been doing is I've just been playing single player and hanging out in the channel and talking to the group, and that's been working out pretty well. So there we go. That's 7 days.
All right, so we want to go into some Conan Exiles.
Yeah, trying to get in touch with these people, practically impossible. As we're finding out. But they do have a new dev blog out there. Conan Exiles is the Arc-ish game that's being developed by, I believe it's Funko, is the name of the company, or something like Funcom is the name of the company.
Funcom.
And they've got some stuff in this dev blog that are.
This is mostly regarding the base building.
Yeah. Do you want to cover this? Or you want me to cover it?
Yeah, so I can go into this.
Okay.
So there's 3 different materials that you'll want to gather. Actually, 3 basic ones are the rock, iron, and coal. And they say there are more than that. You'll use these in your base building. So, for instance, there's 3 different tiers of buildings. This is something kind of similar to what like H1Z1 was talking about, wanting to have multiple tiers of difficulty. So it looks like it starts out probably with kind of a clay type of a building, goes up to more of maybe a brick, or I assume that's kind of a brick building. So tier 1, kind of a square looking building, a little more detailed to tier 2. And then you get to tier 3, which is like a stone castle, it looks like. So there's probably, I'm assuming, I don't know if these are really like you're building this as is, or if it's somewhat like Arc in that you're pretty much putting up walls and being able to design the actual look of it. That'll be interesting to see how much flexibility, but I'm thinking that it is more of a flexible base building system. So they talk about crafting stations in this. So they have, the first one is an armor making bench. So an armor crafting bench. Then they have a metal working bench, which has for smelting and a forge and everything on there. And then they have a tannery for working with leather, creating leather. It says build sturdy walls for protection. And they show on there some type of a beast that is attacking the base. Inside, they show kind of an example. They got stone floors in there. They show some tables. They got trophies you can get up on the wall. So someone had killed a rhinoceros, and different furniture that you can kind of set around your house and make it look however you would like. And then they have, I'm not sure.
Let me cut you off there, Brian. That's big to me. The ability to be able to fill up a base
and customize it where it actually feels like something.
Well, that's the thing is like you run into a lot of these games, and Ark wasn't one. H1Z1 Just Survive. We built this base, we planned out all this stuff, but it was completely empty because there was nothing.
Yeah, it's just walls.
It was just walls and crates. That was it. There was nothing else to put in your base to size it. I mean, you look at this picture on the left here.
They got carpet, and rugs, and
it looks awesome. It looks like a house. And I'm not one of these big immersion people, but these games where you build these bases and you can't,
there's a large group of players that's what they're into is customizing.
I mean, in
bases like this.
You'd be surprised. I'm playing 7 days right now. I'm like furnishing my base. Like I'm moving chairs around and I'm moving tables around, the couch, like to make it look like something because it's just a big empty room and it's lame. It's lame.
Yeah. Yep. So that's hopefully. It'll be interesting to see how flexible this really is. It seems to be everything that they take screenshots of is actual in-game stuff, not concept art, which we've been fooled by before. They have on here shrines for the gods, and I'm not sure what this will probably be some sort of a buff or extra abilities. They don't really describe what that means, but you'll be able to set up a shrine, and it's Crom, Set, Mitra, and Yog are the gods that you can set up shrines for. And then they had said capture thralls. So I'm assuming it says the Wheel of Pain, artisans help you craft, dancers remove corruption. So maybe these are people that you can make as slaves.
I was going to say like kind of like perks. I don't know. Could be a bunch of different things.
They're saying artisans help you craft, so you can put someone at your crafting bench.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You can have a dancer that will remove corruption debuffs that you get.
Interesting.
And then the Wheel of Pain, which you can have people like grind, like they push the wheel to make some sort of grain or something for you.
Interesting.
Kind of like moving the motor.
Yeah.
And then if they have on here build shelter from the sandstorm. So I guess there's storms that you're kind of building a base to survive. And it says just beware, everything can crumble to dust. And it shows this gigantic, and I kind of miss. That's one thing I kind of miss are like epic bosses. This is something that WoW did really well. There used to be just huge guys that would, wander around or something would happen. Games don't seem to really do that anymore. Just have some sort of a massive creature you have to deal with.
Games are, God, I'm going to get in trouble with this. Games are too easy. Like, but and now here's the thing.
Look at this. Like, what I don't know what's leading to this, but you look, it's destroying this whole base.
So here's the thing. Now, I say games are too easy. That's one thing. But there's the other aspect of, well, I played this game for 6 months, and now all of a sudden this random beast came out and destroyed everything I have. That's not what I'm looking for because that's kind of bull. I'm
assuming that there's something leading to this.
So exactly, and obviously, we'd love to talk to somebody and figure out how this, what's the balance of this, because there is definitely a balance between easy town and a hard boss, and then just total annihilation that you have no control over, which seems like to be a little bit too much. And Jason is saying the same thing. People need their hands held a little bit too much. Unfortunately, I fall into that because the games that I played. Most of the games I played growing up, that's when they started, I think, going to this more tutorial based. I find myself very lost in open world games because all the games I grew up with were like that.
That is the big difference. But between your generation and my generation, we came from a point in time where, we played games that were just ridiculously hard, that you would spend months playing a game. And you might not beat it. You probably wouldn't beat it. You would play, we started out with World of Warcraft, which was much more difficult than it is now. You look at, what's the one that,
EverQuest?
EverQuest. the original EverQuest, I mean, you just would, it was huge. And if you died, you had to go and retrieve your belongings. Like you would spawn really, really, really far away and you had to get to your stuff, which was a huge task. Like nowadays, oh, you died. Okay. Well, you can just, respawn, go back to your base,
quick save,
and hide.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They don't create that sense of loss. And that I think that is missing from games now, is because they've gone to such a casual form of play that there, as you're kind of, what I think you're hinting at, is that there's not that sense of risk and reward from the risk. Like if you lose something, oh, you didn't really lose it. You'll get that back in an hour, but back in the day, it used to be that there were things that if you lost it, it was gone.
Yeah.
And I think that they've gotten so many people that, I'm not going to play your game anymore because, this happened to me. It used to not be like that. People, like, that was part of the...
I'm part of the problem, but it's just, every game I played had a tutorial and a quick save. And, why don't I play original NES games? Because you can't save them. I mean, you can, but the batteries are all dead in all of them, and the saves are unreliable. Because, you used to just sit down and play the entire game through. You wouldn't shut your NES off until you beat the game. That's how you played the game. We don't do that now. So it makes it very hard to get into that. And unfortunately, from the early games I played, they were all kind of like that. They all had the tutorial, all had the save. Nothing was really worth anything. You die, you just respawn. You die, you just respawn.
Well, and it used to be we didn't have the internet to go and look for answers.
It's the tutorials in game that I think really do it. When some games, literally, you can play the entire game through the tutorial. Like it's super easy.
That's the thing, is I was playing one of the PS4 games that I got, and
what game?
And the tutorial was an hour long. What's the one that comes with it?
The Uncharted.
Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
The tutorial alone was 1 hour long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then it went to the cutscene of, this is the game.
Yeah, the title screen.
Yeah, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I mean, I enjoy having a long game, but I don't mind being thrown a little bit into the game and having to figure out what's around me. And I enjoy it not being confusing. Like, I enjoy things making sense, but I don't need an hour of tutorial telling me how to play the game. So,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it depends who they're catering to, I guess. And maybe they're not catering to my type of a player.
It's very possible. So, that's Conan Exiles. Hope to have them on. The game comes out early access this month. So we'll see when that comes out, and price point and all that other stuff, and see what we can do with that. That should be interesting.
Now the King of the Kill update was 15.5 megabytes.
Okay.
Just as a note, I think that's what the other one was. So they may have just rolled out the same update with maybe a little bit of a tweak, because it seems to be the same. I'm not finding, or at least when I looked when we originally brought it up, I didn't see a note of what it was about, but I'll look again. But I'm guessing it's probably the same.
Yeah,
patch.
Not seeing anything here, so don't know what they actually did, but okay.
They rolled it out. We'll see how many people complain.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Let's do Unturned.
Well, how are we on time? We're not going to be able to finish all this.
No, let's just do Unturned.
I think we should do Elite Dangerous. This is a pretty big one.
Okay, we'll scrap Unturned.
Are you fine with that?
Yeah, let's just do Elite Dangerous and we'll wrap it up. What's going on with Elite Dangerous, Brian?
Okay, so there was a big development that was kind of unexpected, and that's one thing interesting about Elite Dangerous, is that the development company doesn't tell you everything. Like, it's a game where there are things to uncover in this. And all of a sudden this week, for the first time, people came across aliens in the game.
The internet was blowing up about this. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at the way that they unfolded it, it's pretty cool. So I actually put the video time spent, or the video, and the time is 8 minutes 30 seconds on there.
Okay.
This is like the exact second. I don't know if you can go maybe 5 seconds before if you want a little bit of a lead into it. But this is the uncovering the alien, and I would do some audio so you can hear it too.
Okay. We have audio.
All right. So for our people that are listening to this,
Now, who is this guy? Is this them that did this, or is this somebody? Oh, this is just a random person.
Yeah. So this was kind of
Okay.
surprise of they're just going around, and all of a sudden this happens.
Interesting. So this has been in the game the entire time. This thing right here.
Yeah. I don't. Well, maybe they secretly rolled it into a thing, but if you look, there's this alien that just comes into view, and we'll kind of go along with this. So this alien is turning its ship, and right now his whole ship is disabled. Like the whole thing is just shut off.
Why?
So
I would
can't do
pay.
anything.
I would pay $1,000 to see a voice and audio cam of this when this was happening.
Like him freaking out.
Yeah.
Like what in the world? And so this alien is just doing some sort of a scan on him. Like the thing, it's supposed to be mysterious, so you don't really know what's going on. And then, the alien just zips off. So it goes into a hyper jump. What's cool, if you look at the physics of it, like the alien went by him, and just the wake of the alien going by him kind of spun his ship. Like they did a good job of this. And so then he starts to chase it, saying, "Man, this is new. Like, never seen this before." And so he starts to chase it, and it does this really cool looking hyper jump.
Oh yeah, it looks like going to a black hole.
Like the black hole goes, and then it disappears. And then if you look, as he goes through this mist, it puts some sort of toxicity, a corrosion on one of his weapons, like something that had been touched by him going through that mist.
Interesting.
Cool. So this was
that's neat.
This was something that was just and there was actually a hint at aliens or some sort of a prehistoric race. However many weeks ago I talked about on that planet they saw some sort of thing. So I think that was kind of the hint. And maybe there was something that he did kind of following that led to this just unveiling, like something coming out of the blue that he wasn't expecting because it had never been seen before.
Yeah.
So so this is he says, if you want to meet him, apparently the secret is to find yourself an unknown artifact, which is what I had shown a number of weeks ago. And then it says warp around between stations until the Martians get curious. And so they actually seek you out because you're going back and forth between their stuff. And then they want to figure out what's going on, why you're doing that. And then they'll come and find you, which is what you saw here. And they don't know what this is going to lead to. Interesting. But how often does this happen in games nowadays?
No,
where
it
everything isn't known. Like this is unique, and I really enjoy this about this company, that there's so much out there, and they're still putting hidden things in this, and not just saying, "Oh, we put in some secret thing, go find it." No, it's like, who was expecting that?
Nobody. Exactly. Cool.
So I thought that was pretty cool. So you're more than welcome to go check that out. We're pushing off again. Sorry, Hellion, which is something we'll talk about next week. I put it in the notes.
Maybe not next. Maybe the week after, depending on with having Miscreated on the show. We don't know how long that'll take, but we'll get caught up with all this stuff.
World, Life is Futile has the update. Osiris, I was going to talk about a little bit.
It's a good problem to have.
One, the Forest 33% off right now. So if you want the Forest, it's $10.04.
It's a good buy.
So you can get that. So they don't go on sale as often as some other games. So I like the Forest. I got it when the next time they go on sale, I'll get it. It's one of those. So it's on sale right now. So if you've been watching it, $10, you can get it for yourself.
Cool. All right.
Do we want to announce the game giveaway first right now?
Let's announce the giveaway. Yeah.
All right. So for this one, we're going to be giving away. Let me make sure I give away the right one. All right. So this is going to be a copy of Gunmetal Arcadia 0. So if you want to, let me actually get the raffle 100% going here so that people actually enter. So just hold off for 1 second before you do it. But this is going to be Gunmetal Arcadia 0. And yeah, I got to find my window. So go and do that. I'll get this going. It'll announce in chat. So as soon as you see the announcement in chat, and I'll put some links, and then you can start entering. I just don't do it yet because it will not enter, but you will see an announcement in chat that shows that it's ready to go.
Sounds good. Let's jump into current players currently playing games that we talk about. That's what this is. H1Z1, Just Survived, and King of the Kill combined. 27,319 people currently playing that. The 24-hour peak for this, 41,691 with a 7-day peak of 50,350. Just Survive, numbers are all right, not great. 3,836 currently playing that. 5,426 is the 24-hour peak with a 7-day peak of 6,859. How about King of the Kill? Strong numbers with this. 23,483 currently playing that. 24-hour peak, 36,256 with a 7-day peak of 43,491. Moving on to Ark, currently playing that, 39,174. 24-hour peak for this, 57,041 with a 7-day, 74,382. Insane numbers with Ark. Rust, not too far off, currently playing that, 27,633. The 24-hour peak for this, 42,889. With the 7-day peak, 63,669. Couple more games here. Miscreated, currently playing that, 1,800. 24-hour peak for this, 2,758. With the 7-day peak being 3,708. And 7 Days to Die, currently playing that, 12,119. 24-hour peak for this, 14,742. And 21,444 is your 7-day peak for 7 Days to Die. Numbers are starting to bottom out and level out a little bit. Colleges are coming back in session. I'll be back next week.
All the vacations and holiday time are ending.
It's spent up. It's the first of the year, so it's all it's a new year work wise. So numbers and all that stuff are starting to level out. Not bottom out. Bottom out was the wrong word. Level out to where they were. They've been extremely exaggerated the past couple of weeks. So
yeah,
good stuff with that.
Very good. All right, so tip of the week. Let me cough for 1 second.
Oh, okay, great.
I just need my cough button. Sorry, I was gonna peter out in the middle of that. Tip of the week, where I go through and give some sort of a survival-related tip, maybe for a specific game. This week, I'm going to be giving a tip of the week on Miscreated, since we are going to be playing it for our game of the week this coming week, and we're going to be having them on the show next week. And so this week's tip of the week is starting now. All right, so in Miscreated, it can be a little bit difficult finding ammo. So for the first tip, I just wanted to discuss one area that usually pays off, and that is in trailer parks. For some reason, I don't know if they assume that trailer parks have a lot of guns, but if you go to trailer parks, a lot of times you can look in drawers, under counters, just all different areas throughout there. Usually you can find some more ammo than maybe in normal houses. And so another place, if you're looking to build your own base, you need to gather scrap metal, you need to gather lumber. And so I just wanted to give a quick tip on how to do that. You need to get a hammer and you need to get an axe. Once you get the hammer, you go and you just hit vehicles. So this has similar things to what H1Z1 had as far as gathering metal. You used to take out, take out your, what was it, what do they have on there? I'm trying to remember what it was. You take out some sort of a tool and you just would whack a car with it, and you would collect scrap metal, and then it was crowbar. And then if you want to go, of course, as you would expect, chop down trees with an axe, and it will get you lumber. So get those two things, and that will pretty much cover you for bases. And hopefully, as they start to expand upon the on the base building in this will become a much bigger thing to do. Right now, you kind of build, you can actually has a very good base building system. You can create some pretty unique bases. So I think once they make it to where there's a lot more to do, have better storage options in these bases. This will be something where we can get a group of 10 people plus and make some amazing bases and really take advantage of this. So that is Miscreated, and that was tip of the week. So I'm looking forward to what we can do in this upcoming game, because we've had a lot of fun this last time we played.
Yeah, can you host a server for this?
No, it's a I think
sucks.
a Windows only server, and I think you have to host it on one of their like they have an arrangement with some sort of a hosting company to do this.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, in PH in 7 Days to Die, you hit cars with a wrench. In H1Z1, it was with a crowbar, and in this one, it's with a hammer. So they all have very similar mechanics, but that's what they are.
All right. We'll look forward to that coming up this Friday night. That'll be around 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be playing some Miscreated. We'll find an official server to play on. Maybe the same one as last time, maybe not. We'll figure all that stuff out. And we'll be live next Tuesday, as we are each and every Tuesday right here on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. And our guest will be Chris Sprentz, who is the technical director for Miscreated. And, of course, as we said at the beginning of the show, if you're just joining us, tweet us at InfectionCast or send us an email, contact@infectionpodcast.com, with any questions you want us to ask Chris. Get us those by the weekend. We can get that off to him so that he is prepared to answer some of your questions on the show, and we'll see what happens with that.
All right, so I'm gonna do the raffle. I might actually. Do you mind if I do two things?
Go for it.
I'll do it, and we'll do it twice. We'll see how this works. It'll be a good test.
Cool.
All right, so we are doing the first one. So Computer Man was 20,037. I gotta get the number right.
Yeah, 20,037.
So you have one. I will send you a link, and then we'll go ahead and roll. And I'll give a copy of her story, which is an interesting kind of one of those detective type of stories where it has a lot of video, kind of like how they used to do games.
Yeah.
So let's try a repick here.
Hey, look who it is.
And text note. So Sean, so you get a copy of. We'll just.
He literally entered the second, what a half a second before it closed.
Before it ended.
It's rigged.
So I'll send you a copy of her story. That first one's a smaller game, so we figured we'd do two.
There you go. Congratulations, Sean.
Yes.
Tuned in right at the right time.
You are a winner.
Yeah, congrats.
So you both won, so don't worry. It's not that Computer didn't win the first one. We're just giving away two, even though it says the new winner is.
Gotcha. All right, Brian. Where can people find you online? What are you up to, Brian? What else are you doing besides Infection?
I've been doing school, so I mean,
come on, school schmool. What else?
Yeah, I can't. Well, I mean, we've been working on our game, which is going really well. I can't really talk about it yet.
What engine are you using for that, by the way?
We're using Unreal.
Okay, I was curious. Somebody asked me today. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, so we were using Unreal. We've got probably almost about 10 people working on it now. And so it's going really well. So we're creating some cool stuff in there. So as soon as we're to a point where we have something to show off, I'll mention more details, but I don't want to give away too much.
Infection Podcast will be the official PR firm of said project.
Yes, and it's going to be exciting. It'll be.
I'm excited. I have absolutely nothing to do with it. I've got no dog in the fight. I mean, I'm friends with Brian, so I guess I do. But I've got nothing to do. I'm very excited for this. I need to get involved with this in some way coming up because it's
and we got stuff that that would be fun for you to do.
It looks
one thing. Well, okay. If you want to, I'm trying to keep myself from leaking.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything. We'll talk about it.
If you are interested in helping out, I can say this. If you are interested in helping out on the project, you should contact us. You can even send me an email, to our contact at infectionpodcast.com, just saying that you're interested. If you have any previous experience working with game engines, working with animation, with 3D modeling, we're accepting voice actors, people that do writing. I mean, there's a lot of different areas that if you're interested in getting involved in something like this, just let us know. And we can set up an interview. We've been interviewing people every single week and bringing people on. So if you're interested in getting on the ground floor of what's looking to be a really fun game. I encourage you to get a hold of us. So that's all the free advertising that I'll sneak in here. But if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter. Also, if you want to go check out our website, we have infectionpodcast.com. It's a great place to join our Discord group, to join our Steam group. We have a contact form on there. Places if you are listening to this on Twitch and you haven't watching this on Twitch and you aren't subscribed to our podcast version of it and you maybe want to listen to this on the road, I encourage you to go on there. There's links to be able to connect up on iTunes to whatever kind of podcast catcher you have. Also, if you want to check out my blog, it's Bite of Tech, BITE of tech.com. And I think that is all I have.
Cool. There we go. Cool stuff. Thank you very much, Brian. We'll see you next week. Should be a great show coming up next week. We haven't done an interview with a developer. We've had Man Pawns on the show twice, but it's both been pre-recorded.
Yep.
We haven't done a live interview since episode 14 of Infection. That's when we had H1s. The H1s.
And that one, and I mean, just to kind of give a little inside baseball how that went. Like, we were told we would have a certain amount of time. They pretty much said, no, you'll have half the time. And then there was a very limited number. And we were supposed to have developers on, and we got non-developers, media people.
It was nice to have them on the show, nevertheless.
It was good to have them on, but it
wasn't very informative.
It changed what we could ask, because we're not going to ask their community relations people, well, tell us about the specific
at
thing
the time.
in the game.
The big issue was hackers running rampant.
And that's just not something that, I mean, they're not going to give you.
They don't know. They're not developers.
They're going to give you the answer that's the public answer that's already been said. And so, this one will be exciting because we're getting one of the actual developers that will be able to, if they choose to, can tell us whatever he wants.
Yeah. Cool stuff. We will have that for you next week. Thank you very much, Brian. We'll see. I hope everybody joins us Friday for our game night. We're going to be playing Miscreated on our Discord. There's a link for that on infectionpodcast.com. Well, if you're interested in politics, news, and more, you could check out Against the Norm at atnshow.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week.